This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome to Seek Reality with your host, Roberta Grimes. Author and attorney Roberta Grimes will explore and illustrate how she, after an extraordinary experience of light in childhood, has discovered channels of communication to the afterlife and how these implications have an effect on our everyday lives. Please welcome the host of Seek Reality, Roberta Grimes.
My dear friends, welcome to Seek Reality. I'm Roberta Grimes, and I'm so glad you could be with us today, especially so because of my wonderful guest. At the very top of the list of experts that I have long wanted to share with you is today's guest. The hardest part of doing afterlife research has not been collecting the information. Actually, that part's fun. But once you have some evidence assembled, you've got to figure out how it fits with what you already know. And that part is tough because we have so many missing pieces still. How does it all fit together? Well, the hardest part for me has been trying to understand how the physics of reality works. In the end, a few great books helped me begin to assemble a working understanding, such as, Craig Hogan's Your Eternal Self, Michael Talbot's The Holographic Universe, and of course, a lot of the things Max Planck said. All of that, I think, those are all must-reads. But frankly, there's one book more than any other that in 2008 made everything click for me. Were it not for the fact that Lynne McTaggart's The Field, The Quest for the Secret Force of the Universe came out in paperback that year, I could not have written The Fun of Dying, Find Out What Really Happens Next for publication in 2010. So getting to visit with Lynne now about her great new book is such a treat for me. Lynne McTaggart is one of the world's foremost authorities on the simple fact that, as quantum physicist Max Planck said, consciousness underlies everything. Her 7 books, besides The Field, include The Intention Experiment, The Bond, and now The Power of 8, harnessing the miraculous energies of a small group to heal others, your life, and the world. Her books have been published in more than 30 languages, and she is frequently cited for the amazing work that she continues to do in the emerging science of the power of consciousness. I just want, please, everybody, pour some tea now and just hear Lynne talk. Lynne, I'm thrilled you're here. Welcome.
I love that. Pour some tea and hear me talk. It's wonderful to be with you.
Well, I hardly know where to begin. I started reading The Power of 8. I couldn't put it down except that the world kept intervening. And then I realized that at 1/3 of the way through the book, I already had much more to talk about with Lynne than I could possibly cover in our little time together today. So she has agreed to come back a couple of more times at least to share other. I don't know how to express this to you adequately. This stuff is amazing. And I'm afraid that too few people listening really understand how amazing the evidence we have is because science has been stonewalling it so effectively. So, Lynne, how did you first get started thinking about all of this?
Well, I sort of got into this by accident in a sense. I'm a journalist by training, and an investigative reporter is how I started out life. I mean, I was busting baby selling rings in my 20s with hidden microphones and tape recorders. I was going to put bad guys in jail. And I moved into health journalism because I was ill and couldn't find anybody to sort me out. And when I finally found what I thought I had and the person that I thought could cure me, and it was just a faulty microbiome, which is, very, very common, and everybody knows what to do with it now. But back in the 80s, they didn't. And I worked with a nutritional pioneer, and it was so impressive what he was doing that I probably got pretty boring on the subject. And my husband finally said, "Don't tell me, tell the world." So we set up a thing called What Doctors Don't Tell You, which was a newsletter back in 1989 when we launched it, but it became a magazine. Now it's an international magazine. What I wanted to do was to look at what works and what doesn't work in conventional and alternative medicine and look at the scientific evidence. So we were doing that for a number of years, and then around the mid to late 90s, I kept coming across some very good studies of spiritual healing. And I kept thinking to myself, wait a minute, if we could take a thought and send it to someone else and make them better, that in itself undermines everything we think about how the universe works. So I was curious about this. I thought there might be something like human energy fields. And I talked my publishers into essentially funding a journey without a compass, because I had no idea what I was going to find. So I thought I'll start and I'll talk to some scientists who are working in consciousness research and frontier things. And I soon realized that each of them were putting together, through their experimental evidence, one tiny piece of a completely new worldview of how the universe works.
Yes.
And so I realized also that it's difficult for them to step beyond their own experimental boundaries and do some speculation. It's also hard for them to talk in plain English, and I guess that job was going to be mine. So I produced this book, The Field. There was a nagging little bit to it, which was the idea that consciousness is an actual something with the capacity to change physical matter. And that had come out in a lot of their studies. And of course, in the early 2000s, there was also the time of
Lynne,
the law of attraction.
Lynne, we're going to have to take a break now. So everyone, hold that thought. There is something about consciousness that affects matter, and we will be right back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Is it science or is it magic? Once a magical thing has been scientifically proven, is it no longer magic? Or is magic simply the science of tomorrow? Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, on The Science of Magic, a syndicated radio program dedicated to combining the science and magic of today's dynamic and controversial topics to co-create new solutions. By triangulating information from today's leading experts from the scientific and magical fields, we uncover expansive and evolutionary truths you won't find anywhere else. Join us daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, as I interview the share thoughts with the amazing guests from both science and magic. The resulting knowledge is unprecedented. As a gift to you, the listener, past episodes can be accessed on our website free of charge at thescienceofmagic.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
Welcome back to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. So we left you at a very pregnant moment when Lynn was talking about her discovery that there must be something about consciousness that affects matter. I mean, this is what excites me about this, and this is what had me up all night reading The Field when I first read it. This is what Max Planck discovered coming from the viewpoint of quantum physics. And here it is. Frankly, I'm surprised you're not a scientist. I think you're the most thorough scientist and most deliberate and fearless scientist, Lynn, that I have ever encountered. So you certainly are a scientist. And I'll give you your PhD right now. You are a scientist in a way. So
a few people want me to turn The Field into a PhD. They said just take out all the stories and keep the interesting bits out and
submit it as a thesis. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. As I say, I couldn't put it down. Literally, I was up all night reading it.
Thank you so much. So I was really fascinated by all of this and the idea that consciousness is a thing that affects other things. And also it was the time of The Secret and the law of attraction. And I also had, when thinking about all of that, I wasn't really sure I believed it. I thought to myself, how come it seems like we've trivialized this? If consciousness is so powerful, why are we using it to manifest parking spaces? Why aren't we using it to cure cancer? Why aren't we using it to heal the world? And also, what happens when lots of people think the same thought at the same time? Does it magnify the effect? So I wanted to test this. I was really a 21st century doubting Thomas. And so I thought to myself, the field was in lots of languages by then, and I knew a lot of scientists in consciousness research. And so I thought, well, if I just put these two pieces together, I'll have the biggest global laboratory in the world. Every so often, I can invite my readers as a whole, as a big group, to send intention to some target that's set up by one of the scientists in their lab. So that's what I did. And I really didn't think it was going to work, but I was game to try, and we did it, and we've run 30 to date, and it's not only worked, it's really worked. I mean, of the 30 experiments we've run, everything from trying to affect subtle processes of a leaf to trying to make plants grow faster, to purifying water, to lowering violence in war-torn areas, to trying to heal someone of PTSD. Of those 30 experiments, 26 have shown measurable positive responses. And, there's no drug out there with that kind of consistent response. So this was impressive, but it wasn't the big impressive bit.
Lynn, you were working with scientists on this, right? This wasn't just Lynn trying her own little stuff. This was...
Oh, no. We're talking about prestigious psychologists, experts in water, I had the world's expert in water and material science working with me at the University of Pennsylvania. I had a very noted psychologist from the University of Arizona. I had one of the top statisticians from the University of California doing all of the statistical evidence. We had some really quality scientists. It's always been with scientists because there's no point for me doing it unless we can actually demonstrate that we have an effect scientifically.
This is part of what I love about your work. You are so serious and disciplined. I could never be that serious and disciplined, and I just admire the fact that you can be, and so skeptical too. It's terrific. The Power of Eight, I should just tell everyone, which I recommend more highly probably than I've ever recommended a book except The Field. The Power of Eight contains a lot of this history. So if you're curious, as I would have been if I were sitting in your shoes, although sitting in your chair, driving in your car right now. If you're curious about how this is really possible, read The Power of Eight's history in the beginning because it will fascinate you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, dear.
So that isn't the interesting part of the story. I mean, for instance, we did it isn't the interesting part of the story because, for instance, I ran a peace intention experiment to lower violence in Sri Lanka. And we chose Sri Lanka mainly because we could get 2 years' worth of data on injuries and deaths. And I needed that kind of long statistical information for my scientists to actually say, yeah, you probably had an effect. So it looked like we might have had some sort of effect, although it's hard to say that with any certainty. But this 25-year war, the 8 days of our experiment seemed to be proved pivotal in the winning of the war. It was really quite extraordinary. That was the week of the most decisive battles. That was fascinating. But once again, not the point of the story. The point of the story was what was happening to my participants. I surveyed them afterward, and my mind was blown because I got in thousands of responses saying I felt like I was wired to a higher network. I had an amazing altered state. I was tingling and crying uncontrollably. Just extraordinary things like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Plus, I'm getting along with my loved ones better than I ever had. I've made up with my mother. We haven't talked for years. I'm in love with everybody I come into contact with. I'm hugging strangers. There were thousands like this.
That's amazing.
And I was shocked. Yeah, I was shocked because I started recognizing, wow, this has some sort of mirror effect. It's having more of an effect on the people taking part even than the target itself.
Well, that sort of blows my mind too. But it doesn't surprise me because what you're connecting with is this universal consciousness, which really, from my perspective, my evidence, my research suggests is the only thing that exists and is what manifests everything else. So if you're more closely plugged into that and its very essence is the high vibration that we call love, that's all predictable. That's what's great, Lynne, about your work. It verifies what everybody else is doing too.
Well, I think what it does is gives Western mind proof. A lot of this is, there's a part of me that kind of hates woo-woo because I don't like things that I don't like things that people make that are just assertions. Oh, this is how it happens. Well, how do you know? What's the evidence? Demonstrate it. And so it's always what I've set out to do is to show, basically prove magic. And the thing was, though, that an even more amazing thing happened when I started putting people into little groups of 8. Now, back in 2008, I had hardly ever run a workshop before. I'm a journalist by training. And so I thought to myself, well, I probably ought to scale these down to workshops. That's what people do, right? So I'll put them into, and I couldn't figure out, well, how do I show people how intention works in any meaningful way? And I'm kicking this around with my husband, and I say, I don't know. I'll put them in groups of 8 and see what happens. He says, yeah, I love that. The Power of 8. He's a really good headline writer.
Well, but what about 8? Where did the number come from? That's one of the things people will wonder.
Completely out of the blue. Just out of the blue. I just said, I don't know. I'll think of 8. I don't know. I'd like to say it was sacred geometry. It wasn't.
No,
so we put these.
Great.
No, we have these people, we have them in groups of 8 in Chicago. Our first workshop in 2008 we're putting them in groups of 8. I'm telling them what to do. I'm telling them to hold hands, send an intention to somebody in the group with a health challenge. I'm completely making it up as I'm going along, believe me. And, I knew the techniques to use to maximize your ability to intend. I'd studied those. I'd worked with intention masters. I knew all that. But the whole idea of group intention, I thought something about it must be really important to hold the same intention at the same time and to have an unbroken connection. So I tell them to do this. I figure it's going to feel, like a facial. It's going to be a feel-good exercise, nothing more. And so I ask them to come back the next day and report on their experiences. And I line them up. I give them a mic and turn, and they say things like this. I've had pain in my right hip for years, and it's completely gone, and I walk normally today. I had terrible IBS, and I've had this for years and years and years, and my stomach feels normal today. I usually wake up with a terrible headache every morning, and I don't have it today. And, on and on and on. And it got worse in the sense that as I ran these workshops over time, we had more and more and more of these miracle healings, essentially, where there was a woman with cataracts who said she was 80% better. There was a woman with scoliosis. Even? Cataract, 80% better at cataract. A woman the other week, I was at Mile High Church in Denver, and she was a stroke victim. She said she could not focus her eyes. They no longer focused together, and they did after this little Power of 8 group. She was seeing normally again.
Wow.
We had people with scoliosis, several of them, where, their backs totally out of pain immediately afterward. And one wrote me back to say she's had to change the rear view mirror of her car because her back's so much straighter. Terrible arthritis, no more pain, walking normally. MS victim left her crutches at home the next day. It was ridiculous. And I did not believe it.
Why isn't this headlines on every newspaper in the United States and in the UK as well? Why not? This is this is important.
Well, I think, Roberta, people don't believe it. And I didn't believe it. I mean, for years, I did not believe it. I was in a sense embarrassed by it because I thought, well, I'm not a healer. I'm not Eric Pearl. I never want to be, nor do I put myself forward as being that. Why are these things going on? Is it just a placebo effect? Is it just a feel-good exercise that just transforms people? What's the mechanism? And I was desperate to find out what the mechanism was, but which is what prompted, me to write this book and to study everything about, well, how could this be working? Why is this? And it wasn't just the receivers. The senders were having these miraculous things too.
Yes.
The Mile High Church, just the thing I was doing a couple of weeks ago, this guy called Wes, he was a Vietnam vet. His life got derailed when he got a low lottery number and he got drafted when he was in college. He never finished college. His life spiraled downward ever since he had that fairly traumatic experience in Vietnam. And, he just didn't have a good life. And here he was at 65, kind of feeling, what's the use? Hardly having the energy or desire to get up in the morning. And he does this group. He's intending for someone else. And he said, and we've documented him saying, my whole life has shifted. I am joyful. I am ready to do, I want to write a book. I want to do this. I'm exercising 90 minutes a day. I'm doing this. And, I'm my 19-year-old self again.
Oh,
yeah.
That's
amazing.
Fabulous. And this just happened?
Amazing.
This happened recently?
Yeah, that is from the Mile High Church and the stroke victim Mile High Church. But I have hundreds, probably thousands of others who have had these kinds of amazing things, not just happen to them in their health, but also in their life. Effects that were on their career, on their life's purpose, on their relationships. just people transformed, and it was
Lynn, let's
amazing
hold it
to me.
there, because when we have to take another break, but please, everyone, understand that this is one of the most disciplined people I have ever met. When you read her books, you'll see none of this is woo-woo. She would hate it if you even thought it was. But still, something real and profound is happening as this woman experiments with consciousness. This is only the beginning. You're going to remember this interview for the rest of your life because of what comes next. Stick with us. We'll be right back.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
Ancient prophecies, legends, and current events indicate we're entering a high-frequency era supporting enlightenment. During expansive times, old rules fail, necessitating access to the ever-shifting currents of life for guidance. There's an ancient form of shamanism through which we can obtain the information we need. I'm Gwilda Wieka, founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Art School, with a great new provision for those interested in spiritual evolution and personal empowerment. Galactic Shamanism, Art of the Ancients, Key to Tomorrow, is an upcoming series of leading-edge online affordable classes designed to guide and support you and your family during these times of transition. Embrace the magic. Empower your life. Study Galactic Shamanism at findyourpathhome.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Welcome back to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes and my wonderful guest, Lynne McTaggart, who is one of my personal heroes. And I must say that in person, she does not disappoint. When we closed the previous segment, I said you would remember for the rest of your life this particular interview because of what comes next. I didn't mean in the interview itself. I need to clarify that. I mean in the world in the next few years. What Lynne is talking about now will, within a decade, be common knowledge. And in large part because of people like her, and there are very few actually like her, who have done in a disciplined way the kind of research that scientists, mainstream scientists, should have been doing all along, except that they're stuck with a dogma of materialism, which means that they don't dare look at consciousness as a separate thing, whereas in fact, consciousness is everything. So this is an exciting time to be alive because we get to watch the light finally dawn. But one of the things people are really curious about now, Lynne, is you said you were winging it and this all started to happen. What exactly did you tell these people they should be doing? How do they create that intention together?
Well, some of the key elements, I've put a lot of detail on how to be a good intender in my book, The Power of Eight. But some of the most important elements of it are holding hands or creating some sort of unbroken connection in a circle. Now, I said 8. 8 seems to be an optimum number. I've had very good results with people who are a group of 6. I've had very good results with the people who have a group of 12. I think 8 is just not too many, not too few. It's kind of a Goldilocks number.
Yes.
But there's no magic about it other than its historical context of being an infinity sign, et cetera, et cetera. But in practical terms, it's just if you can get 8 people together, that's great. You hold hands. You formulate an intention statement together. So you're all going to think the same thought at the same time. Our intention is that Jane Doe be free of all pain in her right hip and be healthy and well in every way. That kind of thing. But you are very specific too. I mean, all of the intention experiments I've done and the work on the Power of 8 groups, I've always suggested be specific. Don't send an intention out to create world peace. Be very focused. Where do you want peace? By how much? And the same thing with trying to heal somebody. Focus on what you want. Tell the universe what you want. And you all kind of breathe in and out together, and you all formulate that intention, and you imagine that person being healthy and well in every way with all of your senses, a very highly focused state. And you send that intention out together with your heart. And so it's a heart-centered thing, not a head-centered thing. And the recipient just open up your heart to receive. Those are the essentials of it. There's a lot more detail, of course, and as I say, I've got it in my book. But that's the rudimentaries of it that I just intuitively, I guess, stumbled on. But that's what seems to work. And
I love the way you put that you intuitively stumbled on. I have to tell you, in point of fact, and I hope this doesn't make you feel suddenly that I'm too woo-woo, but from 35 years, 50 years of studying a whole bunch of evidence from a whole bunch of places, I can tell you with absolute confidence none of that was accidental. And of course, you're being used by spirit, and you were given the number 8, which turns out to be the right number, and you were given what these people should do, which turns out, from my independent analysis based on everything I know, that's exactly what they should have been doing. You got to be very literal when you work with spirit, and you've got to basically claim the result, not pray from lack, but pray from abundance.
Yes.
That's what all these people are doing. Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. It is amazing, and trust the process. It is
That's
amazing,
awesome.
and I guess I was, the spirit got in my car and decided to drive
It's so
me.
hard for you to even say it. I think that's wonderful. You are such a
I,
skeptic. That's
I
great.
know, I know. Well, and what was amazing is I kept asking why. Why is this working?
Yes.
And I decided to put it to its own test. So I had been speaking at a place called Life University, and the head of the university liked the idea of the power of eights, and so he basically said, I'm going to put one of my departments at your disposal, the psychology department, and have you work with some neuroscientists too. And I was just so overwhelmed with gratitude because I thought,
Yes.
wow, we can really see what's going on inside these guys. And
Yes.
so we are setting up a series of experiments. We've run the first one, and it's in my book. And what we looked at was the brain waves of people who were doing the sending. Now, the brainwave, understand that the people who were involved in these groups were just student volunteers. They were total novices. They had never done Power of Eight groups before. Most of them had never even meditated.
Right.
And they went into these groups, they sent intention to someone else, and Dr. Stephanie Sullivan measured one of their brainwaves. And we ran it 6-7 times, I think. And every single time we found an amazing change in the brain, a global quieting of the part of the brain that separates us from the rest of the universe, that says, no, this is where you end and the rest of the universe begins. And also all of those functions of the frontal lobes of the brain that are involved with negativity, worry, doubt, all of those things, all turned way down. Dial turned way down.
That's amazing.
It was amazing. And what was
It's
incredible is it was the absolute exact brainwave signature of a Sufi master or a Buddhist monk in ecstatic prayer. These had been measured by Dr. Andrew Newberg of the University of Pennsylvania, who did studies of moments of mystical states and enlightenment. That's what my guys were showing. Identical signatures, brainwave signatures.
Just because they were in a circle of 8 holding hands and holding the common intention?
Yes. I mean,
my
this is
goodness.
the thing that's so amazing about it. Well, holding intention, it kind of was remember everybody reports on this when I've talked to them about it, that they felt they were in some sort of higher network, just like the giant intention experiments, that they felt their individuality dropped away. They felt like they were in an altered state. They had all of the hallmarks of people like Abraham Maslow, when he talks about people in mystical states. He talks about this feeling of overwhelming connection, a physical change, maybe goosebumps or feeling tingling, a sense of oneness of the universe, this completion, a blinding epiphany of meaning. The world finally makes sense to them in every regard.
Isn't
and also rejuvenation.
Fabulous?
Yeah, a real sense of change.
This.
But here's the amazing bit. A Sufi master needs years of training and technique.
Yes.
A Buddhist monk, the same. Or you need hours of priming to get into that state. My guys at this study had a 13-minute video from me telling them how to do this, and that was it. Yet they were transported into the miraculous. They were transported into this altered state that enables amazing changes to happen. And so for me, this is really fascinating because it basically says, you don't need ayahuasca. You don't need a sweat lodge. You don't need years of practice.
Yes.
And
that is so
all
profound.
of that.
May I just make a point to my listeners? I'm telling you all the time that you are your mind is part of the consciousness that continuously manifests this universe. So what Lynne is telling us now is that this easy exercise, which anybody can do, will put you in direct contact right away with remembering who and what you really are, and you will have this glorious download from this continuously manifesting consciousness that is all that really exists. I just have to put it in lay terms for these people because I keep saying it to people. And once again, we have proof from an entirely different source that it's really true. You don't have to go through all of these things. All you need to do is be open to consciousness, truly open to spirit. I'm sorry, Lynn. I just had to say that because
No, that's so right, Roberta.
Different direction.
No, and that's so right. I mean, all you need, you don't need all that technique. All you need is a group, a little group, a small group. I put it through my own petri dish too after a while.
Uh-huh.
I decided to invite a batch of people, and I had about 250 at the end, to be part of a year-long master class where I would put them in groups after 7 weeks of instruction from me and put them into little groups, and I'd monitor them, with their groups of 8 over the year. I'd monitor them month by month to see what happened to them. And it was amazing. Of the 150 who actually continued to meet week by week with their groups, pretty much 100% had some sort of major life transformational experience or more. Like, one woman had chronic fatigue for 15 years. It was gone. Another guy had lifelong depression, very frustrating because he was a clinical psychologist, and that was gone. But also people who were stuck in their lives, in their careers, got dream jobs or windfalls when they least expected it. It was amazing. And, changes of life purpose. People set up amazing enterprise schemes and they were working really well. People made up with estranged family members. It was extraordinary. And, I had to ask myself finally, well, what are the odds of this just being the inevitable batch of events that go over time? And I had to say, given all the amazing things that happened to these people, the answer was no. That the odds are 1,000,000 to 1 that was the case,
or even greater. I would think. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is exciting, Lynn. How wonderful to be living your life that you get to do all this. What a gift.
Well, it was scary actually, because as I say, I've always been really cautious about. I always like to go right to the line of what is about cutting edge, where cutting edge science meets cutting edge spirit. And this line was something that really got crossed for me, and I was frightened by what was happening. But I'm convinced now, and convinced by one other piece that's really important, which is the power of getting off of yourself. I mean, that was what for a lot of people who stayed stuck, where their intentions weren't working. As soon as they got off of themselves and started intending for someone within or without their group, their life, they had amazing things happen to themselves.
Isn't that
like right away?
Can we say that again, please? People who were focused on their own issues had trouble having any of this happen, but as soon as they started focusing on the needs of someone else?
Yeah. As soon as they started intending for someone else, their life started working. Whatever they wanted to intend for came to pass. And it was incredible.
Goodness. I love that.
I know. I had one woman, Andy, no matter what she did, she could not get a decent kind of income. And she was going through a divorce. Nothing was working in her life. So and we tried everything with the group. I finally just said, Andy, get off of yourself. Just start intending for someone else. And there was a young boy we started intending for who had tried to commit suicide, a teenager. And she did. And the moment she started intending for Luke, out of nowhere comes this call with an offer of a dream job for her, out of nowhere. And that happened a number of times. It was just amazing. It was amazing.
We have to take another break now, but we're talking with Lynne McTaggart, and I can personally testify this woman is the most skeptical conservative person you can possibly imagine, but she's an extraordinary scientist, and when things happen, she believes them finally, and I just love her to pieces. We're going to be right back. Roberta Grimes, Seek Reality.
The Earth is under ever-increasing pressure from untenable lifestyles and growing populations. Yet, viable answers seem in short supply. What if I told you there's an ancient form that can empower you to take charge of your life? What if your entire family could be enfolded and supported by life itself, Finding Safe Passage Through Challenging Times. I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, founder and director of Path Home Shamanic Art School, with great news. An upcoming series of leading-edge online affordable classes based in an ancient form of shamanism, easily learned and used by your entire family. Galactic Shamanism, Art of the Ancients, Key to Tomorrow are a series of online adult and children's lessons instructing your entire family on natural law, how to cooperate with and be supported by the powers of the universe. Visit findyourpathhome.com to find these unique and powerful classes.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Are you curious? Do you want to learn more about how the world works and have fun at the same time? Study coincidences with me, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on my Connecting with Coincidence radio show, here on the XZBN network. Listen to Jungians theorize, statisticians randomize, true believers evangelize, while I categorize. I dance to the rhythm of coincidences. People who experience me see more of them. Maybe something on the show matches a thought in your mind. Let us know. Expand your mind to the weirdness happening around you. Synchronicity spoken here, there, and everywhere. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my website, my social media sites, and my blog.
What is truth? Historically, we viewed things as either being true or false. Now, as we enter a more expansive era, we find the question is not, is it true, but rather, how true is it? I'm Gwilda Wiyaka, host of The Science of Magic Radio, a syndicated, internationally broadcast radio program dedicated to uncovering this ever-expanding truth. Join me daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, as I interview today's leading experts from the fields of science and magic to uncover the hidden truth between the lines drawn in the sand. What we unearth in our discussions is not only amazing, but totally unprecedented. You won't want to miss a single episode. In service to our listeners, past episodes can always be found on our website with our compliments at thescienceofmagic.net.
Welcome back to Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes and my wonderful, wonderful guest, Lynne McTaggart, who, as I said at the start of this episode, has long been one of my biggest heroes in this field, partly because she is such a rigorous researcher. I am floored to find out that she hasn't yet gotten her PhD. And I do think, Lynne, if you just submit the field, you'll be able to easily get your PhD without any coursework, because it is... You've nailed it in that book. I recommend, again, the field to everyone, but today we're talking about the power of 8. And this book summarizes a lot of Lynne's work to date, so I can't possibly recommend it highly enough. I think you must read this book if you even are concerned about understanding what is going on. So Lynn, but you during the break you were talking about another amazing thing that you're doing. Will you share that with us?
Sure. Run periodic large intention experiments, and I've got one of the largest going on November 9th. I'm running a Middle Eastern peace intention experiment. And aside from inviting my audience from around the world, I'm also working with a well-known Israeli documentary maker. So she'll be inviting all of her peace groups from Israel, and also a peace person called Dr. Salar al-Rashid from the Middle East, and he has thousands of people in all of the Gulf states, Arabs, who will be part of this too. So we will have a mix of everyone coming together to send intention for peace to a particular area in the Middle East. So people can get involved with that by just signing up to my website. That's lynnmctaggart.com, and they'll get information about how to participate. But it'll be a live event.
And this is November 9th?
Yes.
Of 2017. So if you're listening to this much later, you may find evidence of how on the website of how things worked out. Her name is LYNNE MCTAGGART, and I guess it's .com, right?
Yes. Thanks.
Super. Okay, so I think that's thrilling. I intend to go and watch this all happen. That's wonderful.
It's going to be really exciting because we're going to be able to we may do a simultaneous translation from English into Hebrew and Arabic. So there will be thousands of people, and there's going to be a big screen of it shown somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not going to give more detail because I don't want to give away the target. It's going to be a big event. It's going to be fabulous.
It's going to be fabulous. And since this works so beautifully, but apparently the number of people involved doesn't seem to make that much of a difference, right? Or does it?
No, that's the thing that's really interesting about these experiments, large and small, the Power of 8 groups or the large ones. I've done experiments with thousands of people and got the exact same result when we had just a tiny group of 100. And I've also found these amazing effects with just these Power of 8 groups. And so essentially, it doesn't matter. It's not bigger is not better. It's all about intending together with one voice.
Wow.
And that's what's the big, powerful thing. Essentially praying ecstatically with one voice.
Yes, praying ecstatically with one voice and claiming what you're trying. Don't say, please, let's have this or that. Just say thank you for whatever it is you're trying to manifest. And then you put your own power behind whatever it is you're trying to make real. So I'm excited about that. I'm marking my calendar. What time of day? But the information is all on the website, right?
It will all be on the website. I think it'll be sort of 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, that kind of thing. 6 p.m. UK time, 7 p.m. European time. It'll all be on my website. Sign up, and you'll get more information about it.
Right. Okay. Well, I'm going to do that too. So let's talk, Lynn, about how would people get in touch with you? I mean, someone who says, all right, I want to be part of that Power of 8 group somewhere, or where are you going to be next? Or will all of that information be on your website?
It'll all be on my website. I will be I know I'm going to be in California in February. I'm going to be in New York in December. I've got a variety of places. You can find out all of my events for 2018 on my website, and as well, I've got an amazing retreat. I just do one retreat a year, and that is in Tuscany this year. And we'll be doing 8 days of not only going around Florence and all of those wonderful places, but also doing a Power of 8 intensive. So it will be an amazing event for 8 days. Yeah, that's really great. And I always run one masterclass, only one, every year. I'll be starting mine in January, and that will be working with people for 7 weeks, and then I put them in virtual groups of 8, and they just work together, and that becomes their intention family.
Wow. And are these limited in size, so people have to worry about getting on the list, or can they be larger groups?
Well, I keep the groups themselves small to 8, but I work with just a critical mass of people. So yeah, people need to sign up early.
So Tuscany could close, is what you're saying?
Definitely. Tuscany, we've only got about 15, 20 people.
Okay. All right. Well, this, I'd like to go to that one if I could find the time. This is wonderful. Everyone, Lynne McTaggart is a true scientist. There are very few in the world right now. She is fearless. She goes wherever the evidence takes her. She doesn't believe uncritically, but she keeps testing. And when something is established in her mind, she builds on that. This is how every scientist in the world should be working right now. And unfortunately, because of the materialist dogma, which turns out to be utterly wrong, most scientists don't ever get a chance to do what Lynne is doing. So I think she's, between you and me, Lynne, I think you're very, very blessed. But I know it can be hard to be sort of the lead dog, which is what you pretty much are now in the field of consciousness research. It's hard. There's people nipping at your heels who don't agree with you. And I just think the more you become known, though, the more people are going to understand that what you're doing is right. So thank you so much for doing it.
Well, thank you. And I hope when people try out the Power of Eight groups for themselves, they'll have tangible proof of the power of consciousness in a small group. They will experience it. There's never been a case where I haven't had that kind of experience. And, you know, when I spoke at Mile High Church in Denver a couple weeks back, we had, after I finished speaking, we put people in groups of 8. We had about an hour's worth of people talking about what had happened to them in those little groups. And there were amazing stories of accident victims who had been in pain and were no longer in pain. And, you know, it just went on and on and on. And so the best proof I can recommend is if you have a look at my book, The Power of Eight, and you set up those little, try a group yourself, and you'll see what I mean. And if you don't have 8 friends or 8 people in your office or your book club or your church, we have a community site now on lynnmctaggart.com where you can set up a virtual group of 8. And you can experience exactly the same things in that virtual group.
You don't have, in other words, it doesn't have to be only your best friends. It can be anyone as long as you are sincerely doing this. I love this. Lynne, I'm so sorry we have to say goodbye. I'd like to spend all day actually talking with you, but please consider yourself virtually hugged, and we're going to do this again very soon.
I really look forward to it. Thanks so much.
And thank you, everyone. This has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes, and I'm so glad you could join us today. For me, this has been epic. Never forget that you are a powerful, eternal being, as Lynne McTaggart just proved to you once again. You never began, you never will end, and when you fully grasp everything that means, it's going to change everything in your life for the better. Next week, our guest will be Keith Clark. Keith is a young expert, and he's a visionary in the field of instrumental transcommunication. He's seen by many to be an important leader of the younger generation of afterlife researchers, since most of us are past 55 and into our 60s and 70s. Keith is the next generation. He's the founder of the iDigital Medium team, and after 11 years, hard to believe he doesn't seem to be old enough to have done this. He's now doing energy experiments as a live worldwide event that anyone can participate in right now, and you're going to just love him. He's a wonderful, brilliant, compelling young man. So please be sure to join us next week. This week, we've been speaking with the great British consciousness researcher. Actually, she started out as an American, as perhaps you can tell by her voice, Lynne McTaggart. Lynne is a truly first-rate scientist. She's curious, she's fearless, she's ruthlessly honest, and she's written some extraordinary books based on her research, including my personal favorite, The Field, The Quest for the Secret Force of the Universe. I remember staying up all night to finish her book, and I remember how repeatedly it would make me gasp and then smile. How many books have you ever read that have done that for you? Her new book, The Power of Eight, Harnessing the Miraculous Energies of a Small Group to Heal Others, Your Life, and the World, is a great introduction to our work. In fact, I'm already sending it. It's already on the way to someone who I love very much, who needs to do this with me. We're going to fix her life completely. It isn't often that I've been able to share with you one of my greatest personal heroes, who frankly is now an even greater personal hero. So today's been very special for me. As you know, my nonfiction books are Liberating Jesus, All the Fun Books, My Dying, and I'm going to tell you in a very few weeks about my latest book, so stay tuned for that. They're available through bookstores and on Amazon and in 34 languages nationwide. Meanwhile, this has been Seek Reality with Roberta Grimes. Please enjoy and please make the most of this coming week in our one precious reality, much greater than we can possibly imagine, as Lynne has just shown us yet again. And please know that you are a powerful, eternal being, and you in particular are infinitely loved.